Yay!
We were up and running.
All right, yeah, I can hear myself.
All right, cool. Good stuff, boys. There you go. Thanks, Daquan.
Teamwork.
Good stuff, Kwani. I was honestly frantically going through my settings like, this is embarrassing. We got how many people watching? 11.
Big shout outs
11
to
people
Quan
watching.
Solo for helping with those technical difficulties.
Big shout outs to Quan Solo. Everybody give Quan Solo a round of applause. In case you didn't know, he's related to Luke. Nope. I didn't say that. I didn't say that live. I did not just mix up Han Solo with Luke Skywalker. I didn't say that live. Daquan, don't watch. Don't watch this. Don't watch this. Don't watch this. You didn't hear that. You did not hear that. Rob, stop laughing.
That's funny.
I can't believe you just said that.
I'm going to cancel the whole channel. That's it. We're shutting everything down. It's all getting shut down.
Shut it down.
I knew this was going to be true.
Oh, what have I done? You're a Star Wars fan. How do you... Yeah, okay. You know what? At the very end of this, if you come back, I know you have to leave soon, but if you come back, I'm going to talk about Star Wars, because we got a game coming out in the near future that I think a lot of us here are excited for, that new Star Wars game. It's the closest damn thing to Rogue Squadron I think we're going to ever get again, but I am hyped for that. I am hyped for that.
We got you. We got you, my dude.
Squadrons, yeah, that's it. I'm excited for that. I mean, there's some things I'm concerned about, and it's EA, so let's be real, like, you never know. But I am excited that it's like a half price game, and it's got a campaign, and it's really big into competitive multiplayer. Yeah, no, I doubt it'll sell as much as Battlefront 2. But now that we're up and running, we can actually start this party. So I'm going to introduce all of our panelists here. We got, from last week, we got DankVibez, we got Parody Paradise, we got VG Benji, and we have our new guest today, Nagam Yoke. Nagam Yoke is literally the king. In case you all didn't know, he's the GOAT for quite literally everything, and he's going to be providing a lot of humor here today, as a lot of you would have heard if they weren't mute for the last 10 minutes. Now, that's on me, all right? That is on me. So today we're going to be talking about Grounded, and that game came out 2 days ago, and I'm just thoroughly impressed. We have a lot to talk about involving it, mostly good things, but there are some concerns that we do have. So I'm going to go around the table here, and I'm going to start with you, DankVibez. You played the game a little bit with Benny and I yesterday. What was your first impression overall from just that, 5 hours that we played?
Yeah, dude. I had so much fun playing with you guys. Just from running away from bugs alone, it was a blast. It was so much fun. It was honestly a gorgeous. I'm a little worried about how taxing it was on my graphics card, but I'm sure we'll elaborate on that later. But game, it was so much to explore, and everything felt fresh, and it was just it was a really, just like I said in the previous stream, this is what I'm talking about when I say they explore new ideas. When they explore these new realms, these possibilities, new open worlds. This is the first example I think of. This is just so new and fresh, and it was a lot of fun to explore.
I love that. And that's exactly the kind of feedback that I wouldn't expect anything less from Obsidian. And this is kind of really different for Obsidian. They're usually, storytelling RPG fans or fanatics, but this game is kind of a different direction. But that being said, I'm going to move down the list here. And because you played it a lot yesterday, I think there was a period in time where Benny had to get away from the keyboard for a little bit. So I think out of everybody, you've had the most saturated time with it. So I'm going to take you being the most experienced so far, and then I'm going to go into the opposite end of the spectrum with Nagam Yoke, who actually has yet to try the game, but he's watched videos, he's heard our feedback, and I believe he checked out a stream on it. So for being somebody who's not played the game, what is your if you were to give a first impression about it, what would it be?
Honestly, I think that it's one of those games. It's like a nostalgic game. From some of the first comments I heard about it was that it's it just reminds me of Bugs Life. So I think taps that energy, and it just makes it a little bit more creative than what you'd expect from a game like this. You just look at the idea, black and white. It's just oh, it's a weird game, but it's beautiful art style. So
I agree, and that we'll actually. I'm glad you said something about the art style. That's something we have planned for a little bit later in the chat, and we will touch back up on that. But those are a lot of really good points. Parody Paradise, you kind of are in the middle here. This man played for 5 minutes and crashed, or I don't know what happened to you, Parody. But you've got you've actually played the game, but you have almost as much of an impression as Nagamyoku, who's not played the game. So what do you have to say about this game so far?
I think the game honestly reminded me, just like they were saying, Bugs Life, and also I don't know if you guys seen the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Um, it really feels like that. The whole back, like the backyard, and like you're small and you gotta like fight ants. I played it for like 5 or 10 minutes because my computer crashed. Trying to run it. I have an Intel Pentium, guys, so this is how that works. But I mean, besides that, I thought everything was pretty good. The graphics are awesome. You know, it's a cool concept. I just need to put more time into it, honestly. But for right now, I'm definitely gonna play it.
Yeah, you're going to be joining us later today. We're actually going to be doing some gameplay videos on that later tonight after the stream is over. And DankVibez, I believe, will be streaming it. So anybody who sticks around after this stream, you can definitely hop on over his channel, check his channel out, and watch us play and get eaten by spiders over there. It's definitely a fun time, and it's a scary experience. I'm not going to lie. I didn't have a problem. Like, I do not like spiders, don't get me wrong. But that game takes it to all new. There's nothing like turning around and you see this giant creature with so many legs just about to devour you alive. But VG Benny, you played with us yesterday. You had a good time. What was your overall impression? I know it was positive, but what do you think about this game so far over the last 5 hours of experience you've had with it?
I generally like it. You know, this is kind of, I'm not really big into these type of games because I have a small brain. So these kind of games aren't really up my alley. But honestly, like, I really enjoyed this game. I was actually talking to Quan Solo about it yesterday. This game kind of reminds me of like Bug's Life and The Forest had a child, and like this is what this game is, because it has a story mode to it, and you have the aspect of like the spiders they're trying to hunt you and all the other like bugs and stuff like that that are like dangerous to you. It kind of reminds me of that forest aspect.
I love that. A Bug's Life combined. That is actually, I think, one of the best. And I've heard a lot of different comparisons for this game. I heard people tell me it reminds me of Pikmin just because I think you're small and there's a lot of objects that to us are just your everyday. Yeah, exactly, right? Like there's juice boxes, and like in Pikmin 2, like that would be something you would have your little guys pick up and take to your little ship area and have them cash out on that. And then I've had Starched even say it reminds me of an Army Men RTS because the game starts in a backyard. But real quick, we got a couple donations. One against us, $4.99. Thank you, brother. Much appreciated for the haha sticker. I don't know. Are you laughing at Parody? I feel like you're laughing at Parody over here. He's a laughable guy, Rob. I think you got us $5 for your joke there. And Quan Solo, $2. Much love, my friend. Quan Solo, we got to get you on here. We really want to talk to you on here. People want to hear you. You're legendary. You're Quan Solo. You're related to Han, bro. You got to get on here.
True.
That's the truest thing I've said all day. Okay, and I've been spitting facts all day, and that's the truest thing I ever said.
To elaborate on a point on the details of this game, like the giant juice box, that is the part that amazed me the most. Just the scale of everything, and I remember saying like I really felt like a little person. They nailed the scaling in this game, I feel like.
And Rochette with the donation real quick. Sorry to interrupt you, DankVibez. We're definitely going to dive on that in a second. Ben Rochette with the $5 donation. Man, what a guy. I wish I talked to him personally.
I knew him.
Such a sweetheart.
Such a sweetheart. Love you, Ben Rochette. But yeah, continue where you're going, because I think we definitely need to double back into everything you're saying.
Well, yeah, I just that was the part that really brought me to like that really sold this game to me was like the scaling of it all. Like I had with the saturation of the background and just like that when you first see that big baseball, wow, that was like so much that it nailed the feeling.
I think the perspective really just it changes what you expect the game to be, and it's about very small things, but they're like larger than life just because of obviously being shrunk down. But it's the attitude too, from what I've seen. Like it's a childhood kind of wonder game, you know. It just has that aura to it, you know. Absolutely.
If it has that like that wonderment to it,
it's like that whole world of wonder. Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, when's the last time you played as a tiny character where you can see the actual huge massive world to the point of through the field of view that a small critter like an ant would have. Like there's been games sure where you're tiny, but if we're going back to Pikmin or Army Men RTS or all these games that have been referenced as a comparison, you can never look up and
I was
see
about to
this
say
big
Army
house.
Men RTS.
Right. There's a lot
It's
of
like
things
the last
there.
one I can remember about this game.
Because you have objects laid throughout the lawn, and you're like, wow, this family are a bunch of slobs. But it's for the gameplay aspect, of course. And it just really puts you in the same environment. But again, this is the only game where you can look up and you're like, wow, that's a huge tree. Wow, that's a picnic table. It really puts it in perspective in a different way that it's never really been done before. At least I don't believe so. And
Yeah, and it's like that. It's other games have tried. I mean, you are small in those games, but like you said with Pikmin, Army Men, in those universes, you know what's real for them. That's normal. I mean, he's not from this planet, so that's his real size, and he comes there like this. This game, there's like a disconnect. You're not supposed to be this small. So like then when you are, it changes the dynamic of it.
Exactly.
it's like it's an all new gameplay. Exactly. It takes everything you love in a current game and it just puts it in an all new perspective in a completely different world that allows you to explore things in a completely new way. And like giant spider, there's a rumor that there's going to be a dog walking around the backyard. Can you imagine looking up and seeing a dog?
Can you imagine how big that's going to look?
It would be horrifying.
The name of the game is Immersion, right? And that's, I think, where they get a 10 for me.
Exactly.
It'd be like Shadow of the Colossus.
That's actually
Right.
a good idea. Yeah, that's actually a really good comparison. Like, just imagine that. Imagine somehow being able to. I mean, there's one point, and I'm sure you'll. I'm gonna actually put the media source back on of our video footage of us playing, and have that be displayed because I don't think it's gonna mess up the audio now. But
Yeah.
there's one point where we're walking. It's an under construction zone. They let you go there. They don't block you off from exploring the part of the world, but they have yellow tape lined up, and it says under construction. You know, giving you the impression it's going to be barren, nothing really over in this area, but you can at least go there. But there is this giant picnic table. And like, what if you could build like a ladder? Because there is base building. What if you could build a ladder up on top of that picnic table and like leap off onto the dog? Like you wouldn't, like similar to Shadow of Colossus, you got to climb something to jump on some of the Colossus in the game. That would be super interesting. Holding on to the fur of this animal for dear life as this tiny little ant-sized human. Like maybe even using that as a mechanic to get around the map. I don't even know, but like that would be probably one of the most interesting things I've ever seen in my life. And we're really going hard on this game, and we're just diving in. So this is definitely a lot of good stuff to bring to the table here. So I think at this point we're just gonna dive right down into some more of the technical stuff. We did bring it up already earlier, and it's gonna be graphics. So we've been back and forth on our own off stream about this and discussing on how intense this game is on hardware. And I've benchmarked this game on 3 different graphics cards, a 1050 Ti, a 1650, and a 1660 Ti. And the 1050 Ti and the 1650, this game, I can barely say it runs on lowest settings at 1080p. You got to drop it to like 720p to get a guaranteed 60 plus, and you have to do maybe 900p if you don't mind a few dips below and maybe some more extreme stutter. But the fact that the game took the art direction it did, there's people saying and providing feedback that the game doesn't look that good. It's cartoony, right? Some people don't like the similar to Sea of Thieves, the cartoony graphics. It doesn't mean they're bad graphics, but they just don't prefer the art direction. I think a lot of people confuse the two together. So, I mean, graphics-wise, I think the game looks phenomenal, especially maxed out. The footage that you're seeing on screen here is the game running on epic settings at 1080p, typically 60 plus frames per second with a couple dips here and there that I think has to do with optimization. But DankVibez, you played this game on a 1650 Super on what settings again, and how did it look to you? What's your impression?
I see. Here's the problem: is I played it on low, but I mean, even let me tell you what, even on low, I still thought this game looked amazing. Like just because even with the art direction, I mean, it's just a different look. You know what I'm saying? And I really think they nailed a lot of the lighting, and that comes into the perspective thing too.
Yeah, it's like a mood. I know it's a common phrase now, but it's like a mood they're setting, right?
Exactly, and that's what looks so good about it. They nail what they were shooting for. Like that's what I think anyway.
I agree. And Nagamyoke, so you're watching. You can see the footage on the screen, right? Nagamyoke.
Yes, sorry about that.
Oh, you can see the footage on the screen down on the bottom right?
Yes, sir.
And you've seen obviously gameplay footage in the past. So after just taking a look at this, what you're seeing here, what we're doing, and what you've seen in video, what's your impression on the graphics? What do you think? Is this game like a yay or a nay graphic wise and in terms of art direction?
Well, I think you touched upon it. I think that this game, always with graphics, like especially in video games, it's not just the experience of what you play, but like if you're looking at like art design, like just how it aesthetically how it pleases you, that's so subjective. But I think that it actually goes hand in hand with the gameplay and just the overall like structure of the game, because if it wasn't cartoony, if it had this hyper realistic like a Last of Us kind of look to it, where yeah, graphically it's amazing and a lot of people would love it, I think it would lose, like we said, the childhood wonder and the overall attitude of just fun loving. A lot of games that have soft palettes that are kind of just warm and everything like that, they're inviting to you. So there's some games that use that as contrast, like scary games or like hardcore games. You're kind of blown back, but this game, you know what you're getting. I personally love this art style because of the fact that it's just nice to look at.
It dives right back into that mood it said. You're absolutely right about that, because it does make you want to play. When I first saw this game, I'm not gonna lie, first like 5 seconds I was like, meh. Like I kind of didn't know, and I honestly thought it was made by Rare. I was really surprised when I was like, oh wait, Obsidian, what do you?
Yeah,
because Sea of Thieves, right? So, but then after just double that time, 10 seconds in, I'm like, wait a minute, okay. And I think they do an amazing job with the lighting to accessorize and complement everything that you're mentioning in terms of like the colors and the palette, because there is such a thing as attention grabbing palette. I mean, that's why they tell you to paint your rooms a certain color to provide a certain mood. So if you do the same thing with entertainment, such as a game, you're going to get a positive response in your consumers. So you just hit the nail on the head. Now, Parody Paradise, he played on a 1050 running max graphics, everybody. I just want you to know that this man has zero chill, and he will do whatever it takes to run 15 frames per second cinematic at maximum settings. He don't care. He's a savage. But Parody, what did you think before your computer blew up on you?
I mean, I like the graphics. I like, the art style. I like the whole cartoon effect to it. And like, it kind of reminds me of Ark in a way, like, the whole survival aspect. I really like that a lot too. For me, this is a definitely yay. This is a definite yay. I definitely like these graphics. But yeah, I need to get on it as soon as possible.
How was it playing on like 5 to 10 frames on a maxed out?
It was so good that I had to buy a new computer.
No, you didn't. Not yet. And we're going to talk about that several times throughout this whole stream. I know we are. But VG Benji, you got a new computer. Everybody congratulate VG Benji. This man's moving up in the world. He got a new computer. This man was running it on a 1660 Super. VG Benji, what settings did you have this thing on, and what were your impressions of the graphics? Not even including videos you've seen, but your firsthand, like, you played this game on your own brand new computer, details that you never would have seen before on your old one. What did you think?
When I first ran it, like the first couple minutes, probably 20 minutes, I ran it on whatever the default thing was on high. It set it to on default. I thought the game ran smooth. It ran fine on my end, and then I was like, you know what? Let me try to crank it up and see what I can really pull out of this game with my new PC. So I cranked it up to ultra, and I did experience some dip, like you talked about earlier. But overall, anything from high and above, this game just looks absolutely beautiful. From, especially if you're going to put up your field of view all the way up to max, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but just the way that you can see the trees in the distance at such high resolution and still see the actual bark on it and stuff like that just blows me away.
Yeah, the field of what do they call that? The FOV.
Yeah, the FOV, yeah.
Right. They also add a with the volumetric lighting, and that's kind of like the blur that you get in the background when you're this tiny little ant-sized kid running around a backyard. If you look up and you see a tree, or you see the house or the shed or any of these huge objects, they're blurry like you would imagine it being if you were actually that size. And it's funny because they didn't need to do that, but it's an attention to detail and a simple effect that they did with the skybox that just really kind of immerses you more down into I'm this tiny thing running around this lawn kind of feeling. It kind of like a helplessness in a brand new world, but it's the same world you live in every day. just from a new perspective. It really just kind of opens your eyes to a lot of things, and it makes the game that much more enjoyable. But you're right. You get close to these objects, and they start to the blurry effect starts to go away. Becomes the field of view. Everything becomes way more focused. So you can actually go up to these large objects in game and get a more detailed look and see them from across the map. Like, that's something I admire ever since Fallout 3. You leave your vault and you can see the Washington Monument in the distance. Anything you see, you can go there. And that's kind of what this game is doing. You get up on a high blade of grass or on top of like the baseball at the beginning, and you can see very far away. And it kind of like, oh, wow, okay, this is what I'm working with. This is the game world. And this is where I'm going to be doing. This is where the rest of my time here is going to be played. And I think that catches me into a game quicker than almost anything else, is that exploration. And this is nailing it on the dot. And graphically speaking, did anybody have any issues at all with this game, or are we all kind of unanimous on like the art direction we think is smart for the game that this is, and the feel that they're trying to go with it, and also all the other effects that I've mentioned before?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, like I said, when I bumped it up from high to ultra, like I did experience some dip, like you were mentioning earlier. But I mean, overall, it still ran decently smooth, even on like blowing up my graphics card for it.
Hey man, you got those upgrades though. You're moving on your way up. Well, I'm just gonna stop real quick for a second here. Shout out to I love your name, man. So if I screw this up, please tell me, because Rectum Bud Rectum Bud, man. I think you're gonna take cake for best name here in this chat. Thank you for the donation. $1.99. Got the superhero. I don't know where is that when you donate, does it give you like options? I'm seeing all sorts of different like animated characters for the
Yeah, it does. You can do like a super chat or a super sticker, and it has like different like little animations you can do with them.
I look like the little guy when I see a donation. That's what I look like.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you very much, man. Much appreciated. Stuff like that is gonna keep this stream going, and it's gonna keep us on the move. But the next topic, in terms of breakdown, sound, I honestly, okay, so in terms of technicals, this is actually where I had one little issue. Before you get to me, though, we're going to go down the list like normal. DankVibez, how'd you think about the sound quality of this game?
Well, I liked what they did with the alert system when some like enemy is like attached onto you or trying to get
terrifying.
at you or your threat. It reminds me. It gives you that good Ark feel. I like because I'm a big fan of Ark, so I do like that. But it's in beta, so I mean, of course, there's going to be some choppy. You know, it's not going to be perfect. You know, so there were some interesting sound effects. I mean, even some broken ones at some points. Like there was some bugs, but other than that, it was pretty good. Like it just has that. Everything they're doing is just nailing the perspective they want it to do. So like it just feels like it sounds like you're in the grass with all these big bugs crawling around and hearing the grubs digging around underneath you. Pretty good.
Okay. I'm glad you said you talked about how there was some choppiness, because I feel like a lot of people aren't noticing it. But I was getting some interference, if you will, with certain sound effects. And I'm sure we all know, and the people who didn't play aren't going to be familiar with this, but I definitely want your opinions on what you think about it. I wish I could play the sound on the stream. But when your character is thirsty or hungry or tired, or even injured, you have like, it's this weird sound effect that's made.
It's like a Tamagotchi.
That's exactly what I thought when I first heard it.
Yeah, good point. I do not like that.
I hate that, because like the characters in this game, and we're going to talk about this in a second too, the characters in this game, and you'll notice it sometimes the captions are on screen with the video on the bottom right, they do communicate not only to each other, but they communicate about objects and happenings in the game world as you're going through. Like when you first emerge from the cave at the beginning, and you and everybody else see that baseball, immediately your characters start discussing the baseball, like, oh my God, I'm glad I wasn't standing there when that fell. And then, another player's character, chimes in, and then another chimes in. They actually have conversations in an organic, natural kind of way as you're exploring the game world and doing things and seeing things. It really adds to that. This is a story, not just a sandbox experience. And And when you get hungry, all of a sudden you hear this Tamagotchi robot like sad sound effect. It threw me off every time. And we played for 5 hours, and it happened a lot. I kept forgetting to eat or drink. You're gonna see that in this gameplay footage, and it happened, and it threw me off every single time. I hated that. Nagam Yoke, I don't know if you've seen this in any of the videos that you've watched on it, but in terms of sound, I think we can all agree that sound does have a large part of incorporating you into the game world and really sucking you in. So if you were to be a developer, right, and you see the way it is now, you got this little Tamagotchi sound effect coming in every time your character is under any kind of ailment. How would you go by connecting the character more to the player and change something like that?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say because so that's the original like sound that they chose. So like where the game is now, the final product, that somehow for them fit in. So what happens then is if a large portion of your fan base, or even just a sizable amount, doesn't like certain things, especially with audio, because the first few times like I watched videos on this game, because I haven't played it, but the audio is very immersive, and it like the bass on like when there's like an ant or like a spider, like you can just feel like the vibrations of it. So I think it should be something at least like it'll help like catch your ear more and less like annoying, like just less of an annoying sound. So something that like, I don't know, there's games that when you eat something, the classic like apple bite. So something like very common, I would go basic, go plain, because it's just going to be easier for people to kind of digest that.
Right. Don't take the player out of the experience they're already immersed in with something that's completely off tone and on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Right. It's almost like they did that, and you think they wouldn't, like did it on purpose, but
I agree. Yeah, I definitely agree. There's a part of me that understands a little bit why, and the only reason I say that is because, I mean, when we get to the game story part of things, which is very short right now, it is still in the making, but when we get to the game story side of things, we will dive back into that. Parody, honestly, I don't even think you experienced it. You probably have no idea what we're talking about, because I know you weren't watching many videos, and I know you only played briefly, so you probably not once heard what we're discussing. So I'm going to go to VG Benji here real quick instead, because VG Benji did play the exact same amount of time almost as DankVibez and I. Yeah. And I know, Benji, you did experience this as well. What do you think about that sound? Did that throw you off? Did you like that?
No, see, I didn't like that either. Like I said, it reminded me of like a Tamagotchi, and like what DankVibez put in the chat. Like, I'm not a Tamagotchi. Like, I just want to play the game. I'm going to experience it as a survival game and all that aspect. I don't need like a robot telling me that I'm hungry. I want it more like, if it was like the Force, how like you have your stomach and then you have your water content next to it. Like when you're hungry in that game, like it doesn't give you like a big robot noise like, oh, you're hungry. You just look at your stomach and you can tell that you're hungry.
Exactly. Like kind of arc, right? You're hungry, your character's I have super hunger pains. I'm dying of starvation. Like, he makes a little bit of noise. Same thing for being thirsty.
Minecraft had a better sound. Minecraft had a better sound for being hungry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right, exactly. And Minecraft was made to be simple all around, right? So I think in terms of sound, that's my only complaint. And the only thing I have to bring up. I'm gonna double back to what DankVibez said. I do like the depth that they have. When it comes to, I mean, you have this giant wolf spider chasing you, and you feel that on the ground, and you wouldn't think you would, because a spider is to us, weightless. It doesn't weigh anything. But when you're this tiny thing that's a tenth of the size of the spider, to you, it's gonna be terrifying. And I mean, think T-Rex terrifying. You got a T-Rex coming at you in Ark. One of the most terrifying things is you feel the ground shaking, and you hear this thing coming at you. It doesn't have to make any other noise. You just hear, and that's where it gets worse. These spiders do make noise. All right, it's horrifying. Is horrifying, but I think sound-wise, excluding ambient sound, which can be added more so later on in the story and later on in development, they are adding a lot to this. But we're gonna just segue right into performance, because I've been waiting for this. I know DankVibez is waiting for this. This performance-wise, this game messed up this man's stream yesterday. How dare they?
Shut it down early, man. That's not cool.
DankVibez, talk about your experience with performance real quick.
And I tell you what, and well, first of all, I don't like having to run this game on low. I mean, this is a PC that I just built. I'm very proud of it. I don't want to have to run games on low. You know what? It's again, I don't want to give that much hate because it is still a game preview. It's in beta. It's early access. You know what I'm saying? It's not fully optimized. But I guess if we're going off first impression yesterday, I mean, I don't like how much of a performance my computer needs to put in to even play this. It's a bummer. And then the fact that it made my stream like the game crashed. I tried to load back in through the menu. The menu froze to the point where I couldn't do anything else. Had to restart it was just a nightmare. That was not fun. And I mean, you crashed 5-6 times. It was crazy.
Yeah, that drives me nuts. I mean, at one point I determined it was the Windows Game Bar recording software. So there is a confliction there. It's kind of funny because Game Pass, in a way, is built into that. They're almost integrated. They're like bridged to each other because it's as close as to running an Xbox on a PC as you can get. That's when you invite your friends. That's where you see your friends list. That's also where you record like you would by pressing. I mean, when you press the big Xbox button in the middle, if you got a controller plugged into your PC, that's the menu that opens up. Like on an Xbox, when you press it, you get that menu that accesses all the same settings. And it was weird to me that was it caused literally 5 crashes in a 15-minute period. That's no exaggeration. But to make matters worse, once I stopped recording with that software and I used a different software that's generally more stable, I still was crashing, albeit less frequently. And then once I stopped recording altogether, I still kept crashing. I kept running into crashes, and I have a fairly powerful computer. And even though the frame rates were stable almost always, it still kept happening. And I've been seeing this happen to a lot of people. But the real question is, I'm going to save this for Nagam Yoke. If a game has its issues like crashing, right? You hear people bitching about crashing, and it may or may not be a frequent issue for everybody, or maybe even just some people. But is that something that you can overlook for a game like this? If you're having a fun time with your friends, are you willing to overlook crashes like that to just keep joining and trying because the time you're in the game is just so fun?
You know, here's a problem I have with it, because like this, they dropped this game preview because they want people to kind of get the idea of the new power of the next Xbox, right? Having that many crashes and having that much performance issues is not the best way to show us how the Xbox is going to run. It's kind of counterproductive.
It is counterproductive, and it might even be like it might even be a way to benchmark that thing later on, because if like we got these powerful computers running it like crap, but this Xbox runs it perfectly, man, that'll say something. But that'll also, like, maybe it's just optimization on the PC side of things. And with that being said, Nagam Yoke, we haven't even talked next gen. I know you're probably going to pick up that Xbox, but let's say you didn't, right? Let's say you souped up your computer you have at home just a little bit, and no matter what kind of computer you had, no matter what kind of upgrades you spent on your computer, you still experienced crashes. Would you be able to overlook that?
I think as a consumer, not really. Depends on your setup, but if you just take like the medium or like the just mid-range, what most people have for computers, and then it's still in that like area of like crashing relatively often, then yeah, I wouldn't be able to overlook that. It takes away from it. But you got to think from like a lot of like reviewers who have great setups, and guys like GamerRanks guys,
right?
They present it to you from their perspective, but with you in mind, so you get both sides. Because if you're a reviewer, you're looking at when the game is at its best, when it is running the way it's supposed to. That's the product that people bought. That's fair to say you can overlook it because you're isolating what you're talking about. But like as a consumer, no, I couldn't deal with that, honestly.
That's a perfect point to bring up. Consumers, I feel like consumers get battered by things like this. Companies, I mean, I'm going to give them props because Game Pass is such an insanely good deal. And it's not like, and we have tons of games that can provide this kind of example. Think Ark, you buy this game that's full price, right? And it plays like crap for even beyond its release day. But when it comes to this kind of game, I think it kind of combines with what you said, what DankVibez said. It makes it hard as a consumer to want to overlook those things, but it also says a lot about, it's early access, but is this going to be what it's going to be forever, or can we fix this at some point? Parody, he made it 5 minutes in, given this man's running a Nitro with a 1050. He made it 5 minutes in, running it maxed out. He crashed, didn't try it again after that. So I think his answer would be in line with yours when absolutely not. As a consumer, I can't overlook that. But Parody, let's say we hop on, 30 minutes from now, right? We start playing and you start crashing. Are you going to be like, no, I'm done for the night, I'm going on Valorant? Or are you going to keep giving it a shot?
I mean, honestly, it really just depends on how many times it crashes. Because I mean, if I'm in a group with a bunch of my friends, we're all having a good time, and it crashes once every hour, I could put up with that. Every 45 minutes, that's cool. But if it's every like 5 to 10 minutes, yeah, as a consumer, same with Nagamilk. I probably wouldn't be interested as much. I probably would, lose interest. But
I don't know, man. I think
Yeah, it's
every
just-
hour is pretty unacceptable. I'd be pretty pissed.
Yeah, understandable. I mean, I guess we'll find out. We definitely will have more to say about that. We'll be on stream. Like I said, check out DankVibez stream later after this podcast, so that way you can see us playing the game. But VG Benji mentioned it earlier. He's got a new computer, some pretty powerful stuff in his machine, and he actually was saying the game ran perfectly fine. Benji, you wanna dive into that more? Anything you experienced at all in terms of performance hitches, or did it run perfectly fine and beat your expectations?
It ran fine except for that one time it crashed for all of us, and like DankVibez had to remake the lobby. But other than that, I didn't experience any other crashes while we were playing the whole 5 hours or so, whatever, how long we were playing. So, performance-wise, on my end, I thought it was good. I thought it ran fine. Like I said, I started off on like whatever the default was for graphics. I think it was like high. And then later on, I bumped it up to ultra, and like I said, it has its dips as it's going to have. But other than that, it ran pretty smooth.
See, I think it's more of it could be optimization, because we have a lot of people in this panel that have different varying levels of hardware, some not massively different than others, and others with major deltas in performance. And some people are having worse performance issues and overall crashing issues with general stability than other people on the opposite end of that high performance spectrum. And then you're having people that with similar hardware, they're having no issues altogether. So the bad thing about that is, I mean, that's sometimes even if you lower your settings, it's unavoidable. But the good thing is over time, that could also be taken away completely, where you don't have to worry about performance anymore because they optimize it, and weaker setups can handle the game better at higher settings, and higher end setups can actually handle the game with no hitches that make no sense whatsoever. So let's really hope they do that. I mean, again, this game is in early preview, and they don't have an exact release date per se. It could be like Ark, where the thing is in preview for 2 years, and 2 years from now they have a full campaign, a full story, or maybe I'm thinking more of the Forest there, but they have a full campaign, full story, massively optimized, runs beautifully on even lower end machines, and anyone in between you have settings to kind of tweak. They really don't have a lot of advanced settings here. You have epic, high, medium, low, and you can't go in and interchange any of those from what I've seen. You can't like textures ultra, shadows low. You can't optimize that on your own. You pretty much have to go by like a wide variety default. So it kind of leaves room for these issues to show up. So I mean, just a simple change as opening up advanced settings could probably fix this for a lot of people. So Obsidian, please watch this video, do something about that so we can all enjoy this game at whatever detail levels we can maximally get.
Game Pass is trying to sell it to computer too, So, like, if you're trying to sell these games on both the Xbox Series X and computer, you kind of have to make sure it can run on both systems.
Exactly. It's got to be fair. You don't want to shy away one audience when you're really trying to combine them both. At least that's what it seems like they're doing. Nagamilk, you were saying something about it?
Actually, I just said hi, Obsidian, if you're watching this.
Shout out to Obsidian. Obsidian, please come in the chat.
Big fans.
We're big fans. This game's a little different than your normal, but we love you. So then we're going to talk about game mechanics then, because this, I think there's a lot of stuff we could bring up here. I'll start off with this one. One of the most impressive things about this game is the fact that they've added base building in a way where you just don't have everything unlocked right away. I do enjoy the idea that the more you explore your world and the more it promotes you to actually move around and see new things and not just stay in one spot and not turtle up. Because if you want to blueprint, if you will, find blueprints to build more advanced structures and things like that, you do have to explore the game world and check things out. I mean, we're working on building a workbench when we left off last night. And I think that's a phenomenal thing to add into this game, while also reducing, everybody's saying, you know, a lot of different comparisons for this game, and Ark is one of them that a lot of people bring up. But Ark is really intense on the leveling. You know, level up your character over time and make him stronger however you want to with your own build. This game doesn't have any of that, instead forcing you to focus on the story and using building as only a way to kind of get you through it as an accessory and more of one of those like side fun things. So that's how I feel about that. It's one of my favorite game mechanics about this game. And DankVibez, I'm going to throw the question at you. What about you, game mechanic wise? What about this game stands out that impresses you the most?
Said that so well, because you know they took that because I like the Arc system, you know, but this is much more mild version of it, a lot more user friendly. It's the HUD really kind of bothered me. I know it took a little bit of getting used to, but overall, I mean, yeah, it encourages you to explore the world. I wanted to go see what was under that tree. I want to swim across this pond to see over there. And then as you go, the more recipes you get. And
yeah, you're rewarded along the way.
You're rewarded right along the way. And that was the most fun part about it, because I just loved exploring the backyard. I didn't even really want a base build in the beginning, if you notice. Like, we just kind of ran around, just kind of checked things out. Like, whoa, look at that over there.
Like, yeah, there's a cave, there's a lake. Let's go to the bottom of it. Yeah, I totally understand. And I get what you mean about that UI, especially the building UI. It was pretty rough, like moving your walls into position the way you wanted. I guess that would be my only negative complaint about the mechanics of the game, especially involving building, is it seems kind of wonky. I don't like when games let you be creative like that, but they shoot you in the foot with creativity because the game itself just doesn't allow you to do certain things. But I'm sure, like Fallout 76, hate to bring it up here, but Fallout 76 was terrible with building at first. And now you can actually get away with doing a lot that the game just wouldn't allow you to do before, and it makes it a lot more easier to build, so they could definitely do that. But Nagam Yoke, I know you and your brother, you guys went crazy on Fallout 4's settlement system, and you guys were making America great again, building all these settlements back up. And I know that's kind of your thing. How do you feel about games that have base building, and what do you think about the way Grounded did it?
True.
Did we lose him?
I miss him.
I miss him already. We could come back. We can come back to Nagam. Parody Paradise. What about you, man? When we play Ark, you kind of were going crazy when it came to base building. You often would go off on your own and build a base, and we're like, where the hell is Parody? And then we find this castle out in the middle of nowhere, like, hey, there he is. Are you going to do that in this game? Do you like that? What do you think about the building in this game? Or are you going to be a rebel?
Oh, I'm going to be a big rebel, sir. Biggest rebel you ever seen. I honestly loved how Ark did it, how you could just free build everywhere. I just like to be creative in each game, show my little, how do you say, logo, I guess, or whatever, my little signature. But yeah, I think it'd be cool in this game. I definitely want to try it out. Like I said, once I get a new computer from this Pentium, I'll be able to actually build. But yeah, I will be free building while you guys are probably doing the story, so you might get irritated at me. I just want to let you guys know that now.
This man loves the building, so this man will play the game just for the building. He doesn't even care about the rest of it. He just wants to build, and then hopefully a wolf spider comes out of nowhere and just bashes him. The people that play Grounded haven't played it. The people that bash Grounded haven't played it. Duke, the
gameplay is the most fun part about it, so I think that's true, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, actually, I've seen who talk like they've played the game, but then they admit they didn't play the game. And then it's like, what are you complaining about if you didn't play the game? You can have an opinion about a game before you play it. Like, of course, that's your human right.
Very limited perspective.
Right. But to give opinions to others that maybe change their perspective of a game that they were either excited to try or just started out and they're enthusiastic about, I think that's kind of messed up. And I mean, Duke, how do you feel about this game? Welcome to the chat, buddy. Definitely let us know how you're feeling. Anybody watching right now, share your opinions. How are you feeling about this game? What do you like about it? I mean, we're kind of going through categories here, but we'll double back real quick to touch up with the chat and respond to what you think and how you're feeling about it. But that's spot on.
I grew up in a house where you could not say you hated something unless you tried it.
Exactly.
So I guess I just don't believe in that.
So I just think that those, even though a lot of people know that, if you have a limited perspective, you can only really say so much about what the game actually feels like because you don't know. But it's funny that a lot of developers take a lot of that information to heart, and they look at like the overall population of people that are playing the game, and they take that big bulk of people that are just kind of spewing nonsense. And you're right, they're definitely entitled to opinion, but it's just they give too much credence to those voices and not the people that have an educated view of like whatever game you're talking about.
Because there's a lot of different types of gamers out there. I mean, there's the people who like playing League of Legends. There's the people who play World of Warcraft, and I mean, like some people just might not be interested in this game just in general, just for what it is. So I mean, those people could just be saying it's trash just because it's just not their flavor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's spot on. And this is why I love that Nagamyoke's here for this podcast. He said that perfectly. Mr. Man, he always comes in here with those amazing perspectives. Much appreciated. That's so spot on. And I feel like that complaint and those kind of things about this game in particular are going to go away over time, because I feel like this is going to be one of those titles that starts strong and it's just going to impress over time. But Parody Paradise was saying that he's just going to build in this game. Nagum, I threw the question at you a little earlier. In terms of building, I know the settlement system in Fallout 4 you went crazy in, and you love that kind of thing. This game is really involved in that, and you can really play it as a sandbox. Would you play this game and just get lost in the base building?
Sorry. Yeah, I think. See, the thing about Fallout 4, it had a great system for the most part. It was just kind of shoehorned. That's the big problem with Fallout. I think a lot of stuff's being shoehorned into those games that are cool otherwise. This is the scenario where one of those cool ideas for Fallout isolated by itself, and it's just about that makes it like 10 times more fun. And from what I've seen, the overall environment is conducive to like that type of structure. Like you want to like hole up in an area, discover new areas, see if there's anything better. You want to explore the unknown, but you don't have a problem like making like a niche spot. Like that, from what I've seen, is a really cool part of the game, and they flesh it out well.
Perfectly said. And I think this game is gonna. I mean, we have a lot of Minecraft lovers in the world, so any game that has building in general,
Yeah.
right? It's one of the most popular games in the world. I think any game that lets building of some kind, that customization and that creativity to just thrive is just going to be responded to well by most of the people who play it. But that being said, we can just dive right into the next topic, which is the game story. I did want to bring this up. I mentioned it earlier. Happened to do with the Tamagotchi sound effects down at the bottom. So DankVibez and I kind of made it to the end. Benji, you were with us, and I'll ask you later about this one to see what you thought or what you saw. But the game, I won't spoil it for anybody at all, but the game kind of ends abruptly. You think you're just starting to discover what this game's about, and you're like, okay, wow, so there's more than just a sandbox and just, okay, how do I make my character normal size again? There's a lore to it and a lot of discovery. Like Fallout 76, you walk around and you find holotapes that have background story, like, you don't have to do that, but it provides a background sense of what's going on and really connects you to the world and the character. DankVibez, you were with me for most of that discovery. What were your impressions? What did you think as we were, and without spoiling, of course, how do you think the game direction is going when it comes to the story so far?
Well, I think the story does a good job of keeping you on track of like there's more to this. We're not just like little people running around in the grass. Like we got here somehow, and it gave me the initiative to like I want to figure out how I got small. So I of course this game preview, it did end abruptly. I thought that was a very interesting choice to let you start the story and then cut you off there. I don't know if that was a way to just kind of like leave you hanging on the hook to make you come back.
Right.
But it did have me on the hook. I mean, I was onto it. Like it was a lot of fun just going through and exploring all these new areas and seeing new things, being like, oh, maybe that's how we got here. And like, oh, I wonder what this thing over here has to do with it. It brought a lot of objective to the game and like a direction so you're not just confused in this little backyard.
Right, more than just survival. And it was short and sweet. Just as it started, you're like, okay, let's go. And then it's like, wait a second, that's it. Oh no, I want more. I want more. Update it so there's more. And Nagamyok, we were just talking like base building. This game alone by itself, people would play, and I know you would love to play. We would love to play as a squad, even if it was just survival mechanics and base building. But the story as is right now, quite honestly, you could get to the very end of what they've got so far within less than an hour, I would say. Now, that being said, is this, even if the story is an hour long right now and ends abruptly, would you, without knowing much about the story and hearing that from an outside perspective, if the game is good, the gameplay is good, and it's a good time with your friends, would you stick around and just wait for that story? When they update us, hey, this new update came out, we've added another 2 hours to the story. Are you hopping on with the squad and you're playing that?
If the story is, I guess, in my opinion, good, and it enraptures me and makes me, or I'm engrossed with the lore of whatever story they're trying to tell, then yeah. This specifically, I think, is just personal. I think for all of us though, is that we were all born in the '90s, so this 90s culture of this game too, it's not just the backyard, it's the idea that it's back in the 90s. So that story, an isolated story in that time period, oh yeah, I definitely would. If the story is just an hour though, it could be for different reasons. It could have been that they just had a great story and didn't want to, maybe that's where they want to leave it, but I don't think so. I think there's definitely more in store, and it's going to be as good. I think the first few additions around whatever they add to the story, but you gotta be careful. You don't want to just keep extending a story just because people love it. And whatever, at a certain point, you should let something be what it is, and kind of just cut your losses.
Yeah, keep its original personality, and regardless of feedback, just stick to the vision. Because if the vision starts off strong, don't change it. Keep going the direction you're going. But also don't rush it just because people want it, because then you're going to break it. We see that in games all the time, right? How many games come out every year now, especially lately, where you're like, man, just hold the game off for a few more months, just hold it back, because what is this? Fallout 76. Yeah, it is.
Annoying than a
Do not disrespect Todd Howard, because that was the best game I've ever played. The building was phenomenal.
Nothing worse than a rushed
All right,
project.
stream's over.
Parody killed it. Go ahead, DankVibez.
The nostalgia thing was so good. That's so true. Like, I looked like Peter with brown hair when I was that. Like, dude, I felt like that time period for sure. It matched the palette.
Well, that's the thing too. It works in concept form too, because we all look back at the '90s, and obviously that's how time works. That's encapsulated. It's never going anywhere, and it was, we all experienced it. So like, that's why the game has an opportunity to get something out good, add to it a little bit, but let it stand, and it will fit so perfectly into its own concept that right now maybe not necessarily mixed reviews, but a little polarizing, I guess. In years' time, if you make something like a classic like that, a story to remember, it's going to go down as a classic. I mean, look at Psychonauts.
Very good point, man. Very good point. Nagamyok bringing a first time ever on a podcast, joining the stream, bringing a lot to the table. Holy crap, Nagamyok.
Thanks.
You're on it, bro. You're on it, and you're speaking facts out here. You're speaking true facts.
Absolutely.
Parody Paradise. Honestly, man, you didn't get you got 5 minutes in, so like the first step of the story, which is just leaving the cave, and that's it. That's literally all you know. But you're gonna experience the story with us later, so I'm not gonna spoil anything with you either. But the next hour of gameplay that we're gonna have in that game is probably what it's gonna take for us to beat it and complete it on stream, and of course get that recorded footage for it. So I'm gonna have your opinion stay reserved for this one. But VG Benji, he was there with DankVibez and I. Benji, you, without us focusing on the story, we managed to beat what they have so far of the game to the very end, while focusing on exploration. We accidentally beat the game, I guess you could say. So in the time that we played it, would you say that you were kind of surprised at how short it was?
Yeah, I mean, like, as expected, like, it is in beta, so I didn't expect them to throw the full story of the game at us right away. But at the same time, I did kind of want a little bit more because, like you said earlier, like the story kind of like ends abruptly, and it's like, all right, what do you do now, basically? But like, we were exploring a lot of this stuff, and like, I'm not gonna say what I saw, but I like accidentally stumbled upon a certain aspect on the map that is obviously story related, and I'm like, well, what do I do here?
Yeah, I mean, and that's also one drawback of taking a Fallout 76 formula in a sense is that if you do skip too much of the background lore, they fill you in just enough so you can follow along, but at the same time, it's also like, wait, how and why? It's like telling a story and leaving out context in a sense. So that is spot on there. And I mean, over time, this is just going to improve. I mean, they're going to add, I want to say, I hope not a chapter system, but I hope they add just a massive update like a month or two from now, maybe even a little bit later, right around probably the Series X launch. And it's like, hey, here's the whole campaign. It's finished. We've been working on it for a while. We only just gave you guys a small taste because we wanted to make sure it's pristine. And then I think all of our opinions in terms of the length and the direction would definitely be on a more positive approach from that point forward.
Only up from here.
Yeah, only up from here. Yeah. And that's gonna actually literally segue us into our next topic, and that is next gen and Game Pass, because we mentioned earlier, this game could be a form of benchmark. I mean, the art direction is gonna make a lot of people probably laugh at that statement, but this game could be a form of a benchmark if optimizations on PC aren't made, right? But the Xbox Series X version plays at 4K 60 and is flawless when it comes to performance. And meanwhile, you have $1,000+ computers that are struggling to play this thing on, let's say, higher Epic, right? Because a lot of people here have around that price computer or more, and some of us are hitting medium or just taking it down to low because they'd rather just the stability over the looks, because it still looks pretty damn good on its lowest setting. So Game Pass and next gen, I know we've talked about playing this game last week on the Series X and how excited we are for that. But so we all have PCs. We love the platform. Well, most of us consider us PC gamers now at this point. What if the Series X version is flawless, but the PC version still has its issues? Are we all going to go over to Xbox? I'm going to start with you, DankVibez. What are you thinking about that?
Yeah, they want to market it to PC gamers and the Xbox gamers. I mean, I thought that was the whole point of putting the Game Pass on the PC anyway. So I'm concerned that the PC performance being so heavily taxing, I'm pretty convinced that the Xbox Series X is going to run this game fairly well. Like I feel this was made for this, and it's optimized for this, and I think it's going to run it beautifully. And I'm going to buy the console, obviously, and play it that way and really enjoy it, but I don't think they're catering to the PC audience at all here, which is kind of a bummer, which is the whole point of like the cross-play.
Yeah, agreed. They're really trying heavily to, if you can play something on an Xbox and you pay for it once or you're under that subscription, why would you ever be held back from playing it on PC? Especially if you have them side by side. Doesn't make sense to push a little bit harder towards one side of the family, the console side, and have that play better than the PC side, because statistically speaking, there will be more people on PC, especially at the Series X launch. So, it's going to take a while for those numbers to come up, even if they start selling out. There's only so many. So they definitely need to even it out. I really hope when the Series X launches, there is almost no delta in performance between having a decent PC and having the Series X. I really hope it just plays well on whatever settings your hardware can handle. And Nagamyoke, your PC, you still have your desktop. This game runs pretty poorly on even modern hardware. So I know you're going to get a Series X. Definitely, probably going to be high on the list in terms of the consoles to get next year with so much great stuff coming out. But let's throw this example at you. Let's say you're in a situation where, you spend money and get a Series X, or you spend the same amount of money and you upgrade your PC. Let's put it this way. If they both ran at the same performance, which platform would you prefer? Or if they didn't run at the same performance, would you prefer the platform that just ran better?
I mean, honestly, I think, I don't know, knowing me, I'm such a two-way hitter, I guess you could say, because I do enjoy I've always said it's the convenience and the comfortable nature of a console. But the thing is that you get much more of like your own identity. It's like yours when you're on your computer. Like all you guys, like I've seen them. Like you have your different setups, and it's like, oh, check mine out, check. You know, and it's cool. And it's a discussion of like the actual things that run your games. Computers, obviously, we know the trend over the past like 10 years is that it's gonna, it's taking over in terms of like when you think hardcore gamer, it's PC.
Right.
So I go in my waves. I like to be a hardcore gamer and like get good at certain games and just see technical like marvels. But at the same time, it's convenient having the Xbox. But I personally think I'm gonna get the Series X because it's an entertainment system too. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
the PC, like you don't just get a computer for gaming. You go and get either gaming computer or you build a gaming computer. So when it comes to Xbox, though, you get what you pay for. It's a platform.
That's spot on. And you're also new to Game Pass. You've been diving into Game Pass recently. So you see all the titles on there. And this is... So last week, we talked about all of the games announced and how every single one of them is going to be on Game Pass. And a lot of them are exclusive only to Xbox or PC. So this is right up your alley with that. Right. And this is one of these games. This game, Grounded, is going to be the example of the games we have coming out over the next... approximately, I'd say the farthest out game is 2 years from now. So over the next 2 years, we got crazy good games coming to Game Pass. And how impressed are you by that? Like that decision from Microsoft to put so much quality content into a affordable subscription?
I gave them all the respect in the world, honestly, because the thing about Game Pass is it's always been a good idea. Like, again, you just look at it basically. It's a platform where you get your games on demand anytime you want them, and the subscription fee, you can talk. Obviously, people have a different price range they think is fair, but for the most part, I think it's been reasonable. The only reason I really haven't jumped in is that the titles, there's a few that'll catch most people's eye. Then you go down a little bit. There's a few that, oh, it's a gem. All right, cool. But then you get to the point where like there's like a good filler of those games that are just people like them, but they're not that great. Now, when I looked at it like recently, I was like, wow, they're putting out title after title on Game Pass that like in varying games, not just like out of one genre. So It's just like I give them all the respect. I've had my qualms with fucking Microsoft, but it is what it is. But they with this they killed it. I think
they're making up for some of the shortcomings, and they're really paying attention to consumer, right? That's spot on. Nagamyoke's still doing it, still providing all this amazing content to the table. Thank you, Nagamyoke.
It's genius marketing too, because like you can put a game on there, and it's like it's the marketing ploy of like, here, you try our game, you tell us how you like it. It's that much more accessible to the average consumer who doesn't need to go and buy the disc for $60. They could sit here and try all these new different genres of games and find out what kind of gamer they are.
Well, that's what happened. Like when gaming blew up from just that kind of culty thing it was, and then you got so many more different people. And then nowadays, it's like doubled. There's so many different types of people that play games. It's almost a gray area to say you're a gamer. So, that's the benefit of it. That platform that you buy, there's so many different audiences, and Microsoft knows that. So, again, with these AAA companies, we got they're big names and they do make a lot of mistakes, but you gotta think they do have to worry about a lot more variables. So, like, a gamer, like I said, is a PC gamer nowadays. That's what back in the 90s and 80s, early on, like those people are PC guys. And it's just like, that's why most people can just go and buy an Xbox and like, yeah, I play Madden once a year. But whatever, that's awesome. It's cool. I'm glad.
Season,
I'm not too bad. That's, I'm disgusting about it, but I think Microsoft's, doing all right.
I think a lot of people are gonna really appreciate how you put all that and how you said that, because that's very true. And I think so. Game Pass, like you said, it is a game changer, and also another thing you said, it is a great time to be a gamer right now. Microsoft's focusing heavily on the consumer and their experience being the centerpiece of next generation, and you got Sony coming out with great exclusives as always, and they're really focusing on providing a next-gen experience. Even though on paper they got less hardware, they still want to provide that next-gen experience, and they're doing things some people would say is controversial, but they're doing things to really ensure that when you pick up this console you play, you're going to be like, wow. But Microsoft is really going above and beyond, like you said, with providing so much content for such an affordable price. If you pay for a whole year's of Game Pass, even if you buy 2 of the games that are coming out in that year's period that you pay for Game Pass, you immediately save or spend about the same amount of money. So if you were going to buy every game, and I mean, I've said this before, it saves me a crap ton of money having Game Pass because I don't have to pay for these games to do all my benchmarking and all the gameplay. I don't have to do any of that. I have Game Pass day one for my monthly subscription. If I were to buy all these games coming out over the next year alone that are on Game Pass, if Game Pass didn't exist, it would cost me quite literally over $1,000. And that's just the reality of it. But Microsoft can give you $1,000+ worth of experience and content in a year for a little over a tenth of the price. And Parody Paradise, VG Benji, you guys have Game Pass. You guys have been using Game Pass for a while now. Do either of you have anything to say about Game Pass and the next Xbox being a huge focus behind that and games like this being their showcase?
Yeah, I mean, I've had Game Pass since pretty much they launched the Game Pass, somehow, or whatever year it was. And you know, most of my games on my Xbox now all came from Game Pass because this is so much better. It's so much more efficient, and literally, it's like it's better in that aspect because you know you can download a game and it'd be like, oh, I tried it, not really my type, and then just uninstall it and just go and get another game. You know, without having going to the store, like DankVibez said, and spending another $60 on another game. And then especially, you know, certain stores, like you trade in the old game that you're trying to replace with, you know, you only get half the value. And it's like with Game Pass, you don't get half the value no matter what game you play.
You get less than half. You get like 10% of the value.
Yeah.
You go to GameStop, they'll give you like 30 cents for your game that you played twice.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the game could have came out like 2 weeks ago, and they'll give you like $20 for it. It's like, this is a $60 game. Why am I getting $20?
And honestly, things like Game Pass, like going digital has already hurt GameStop, but Game Pass, Game Pass is going to be one of those one nail of 4 that goes into that coffin, right? Because
if it's not dying, it's dead.
Yeah, like Game Pass is Microsoft is really trying to bury companies like GameStop, I think, when it comes to these subscriptions, because I mean there are 10 million plus subscribers. That's 10 million people that don't have to go to GameStop and buy any of the games on this Game Pass list. For example, Medium, Halo Infinite, all these games coming out this year that are just highly anticipated. Stalker 2, for Christ's sake, didn't even see that one coming. No one has to go to GameStop to buy 10 million people. 10 million times 60, or in some cases, next-gen games might be a little bit more expensive, 70. That's a lot of money that GameStop is now not going to have any revenue on because, you know, no one's going to need to buy it. And if you want to buy a game that's on Game Pass, guess what? You can save 20% from buying it while being a Game Pass subscriber. If a game, now keep in mind, first-party games do not get removed, but if there's a third-party game on Game Pass and it gets announced 30 days in advance like normal, it's getting taken off, you can buy the game if you truly love it that much and own it for 20% less than you would getting it anywhere else. Of course, not talking about sales or anything, but they really are like smacking GameStop in the forehead and then they're bowing them right again after that in the mouth. Like they're really...
I tell you what, it does make me sad a little bit because gone are the days of the midnight releases where you sit there all night and talk to everybody in line about how sick this game's going to be.
Good times, but like times are changing. It's kind of like when Blockbuster was going on its way out. Like now we miss those times, and there might be a day where we miss like the old. I mean, we're starting to say it now. Where we miss the old GameStop, and like this is just accelerating everything. I think in terms of what the next few decades are going to look like for gaming, for sure.
Especially with Corona. I mean, there's no reason. There's absolutely no reason.
Exactly.
Stay home on your couch and purchase your video games safely.
Right, or have a subscription and just download it whenever and play it.
Or you can just get Game Pass and just try out like a ton of different new fun games. Not sponsored.
The thing that started this though was when it was that the precedent that was set. I don't exactly know when the first time was, but when it moved from the first time it jumped from hardware physical copies, and then entered the threshold of you're not buying the game. You're buying the license to access the game. See, that's the thing most people don't really think about, or they don't really, because you're playing your game, like whatever. But it does actually make a lot. It means a lot because it means that you're not really buying anything. You're being allowed access to it. So I think it's going to become more convenient. All this cool stuff's going to develop, but you got to think about the aspect of how it's going to change what it means to play a game and what's going to come of that. So it could be good or it could be bad.
A whole other
Right.
point I hadn't thought of.
Like, what if they just, I really, to back you up, Nagam, I really don't want them to start shoving software services down everybody's throat. And I really don't want them to start releasing game. Like, I don't want Grounded to be an example. It launched strong. It has amazing reception, and there's a lot of people playing it, streaming it, making content for it. So that's a win for Microsoft. But the game is like version 0.04, right? It's essentially borderline. I don't even know if alpha, but it's definitely a beta. And I don't want them to do that with every game coming out. There's a rumor that Halo Infinite on launch will not have multiplayer, will not have ray tracing, which is one of the selling points of the next gen Xbox. It won't
this
have.
era's big headline.
Yeah, it's a headline, and one thing that scares me the most, and I know this isn't a Halo Infinite podcast, but they're also saying they're going to release chapters to it similar to what they do with Destiny, like with Destiny 2. They're not releasing Destiny 3, but it's been like how many years now, and they keep adding expansions that like make the bulk of the game over time. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Destiny.
Well, exactly.
Look who makes Destiny. The same company that's making Halo.
Well, 343 and Bungie makes Destiny, and they stopped making Halo. But I feel like 343 is like taking some of their formula and putting it in Halo, which they own now and they're making it for. And that I don't know if I agree with that. And that's what I'm afraid to back you up, Nagam. I don't want them to start a trend and go a negative route. Things look great now, but you're right. Well, time will tell. It could.
Well, I'm sorry, keep going.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, it could become amazing and stay as amazing as it is, or it could just kind of be like sucking everybody in, promo, $1, 1 month, all these amazing games, this, and that. But then we start noticing a trend with games are releasing with not all the features that they should have, and Game Pass members benefit most by resubscribing, right? And Microsoft's just constantly shoving it down your throat, like Game Pass. Like, it's amazing, don't get us wrong, and we get it, but don't shove it down consumers' throats. And also, don't make a trend of releasing games in an unfinished state to just keep adding to them later because of all these high-level subscriptions.
That's another rampant one. Is it's just, I mean, if you look at any other business and you say, here's a product, and you either pay me something or you're gonna pay for all of it up front, and it's not finished. That's not acceptable anywhere else. And for some reason, it got accepted. I'm trying to think. Well, Minecraft was a really good one. I was in one of the earliest stages for Minecraft before anyone knew about it, and like I was like, yeah, this sounds cool, like a cool idea. That worked out, and it was one of the original ones. So I think, especially with gaming, a lot of the ideas that maybe we have issues with, or overall just where things are headed, start with something good, and then it's overdone. You look at types of games. Open world games are pretty overdone. I still love them, but like battle royales, that's obviously. So,
I think it changes
prime example.
I think it changes with the genre, because you got something like Ark, who I was definitely on alpha for that one, and there was more bugs than you could even dream, but I still played. There were so many people.
Yeah, I mean,
and now look where it is. It's still an amazing game. It was an amazing game when it was 0.0001.
Right.
But on genre, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but based on genre, like, if you're going to make like a cinematic-esque game, or like if you want a story-driven game, you can't give us the unfinished product. Like, that's where the line is.
Well, it's what it is because it's harder to define, because I agree with you. Like, certain games that aren't finished, and, everyone obviously agrees that they have issues. They're still fun. I mean, whatever. If a concept is cool, fresh enough, and it works, and whatever, bugs, whatever. But I think where it comes down to is you can see, obviously, microtransactions and stuff like that, but just there's like key stuff that you can tell the developers are doing to just not follow through.
Yeah, very true, man. Very true. And I know you were starting to say it earlier with Fortnite, right? Fortnite started real strong, and it's like, what the hell are they, where are they, and what are they doing? Is this just a trending game now that happens to also be a battle royale, and they're just adding a bunch of trends and trying to do whatever makes the kids think they're hip and cool? or is this the original battle royale like feel that we started? When did that game come out? Like in 2016, 17, and we all loved playing that back then, and now we don't touch it. Like that game, we just don't even bother because it's just so different. So you are right. They can take something and hype it up, and they can take all that to their head, and then they can totally go a different direction further down the line. So really good point to bring up. And I think, so next up, we're really going to be talking a lot about, what do we want to add to this game in its current state to improve it, even though it's starting strong. And I also want to ask those who didn't try it either at all or much yet, what could be added as of right now, if they could add anything right now to incentivize you to be more interested, like, I really want to try this. So I'm going to go in reverse this time. I'm going to start with you, VG Benji. What are your hopes for this game in terms of additions? If you could add anything to this game right now, what would it be, and what are you hoping they're going to bring to the table?
I'm hoping they do like some sort of DLC package where like you get different bugs that get put into the game. Like obviously, like there's millions of different bugs in the world and stuff like that. I'm not saying like go into that depth, but like in the game that you play now, like you just have your basics, like your basic beetles, your ladybugs, your spiders. Like eventually, like what if they added like more in depth, like maybe instead of a wolf spider, what if they added a cave spider, or what if they added like a black widow as like the queen spider or something like that. Like that's what I would want them to do further down the line.
That's a smart idea. Obsidian, come watch this stream. We got a lot of points to bring up that you guys should take notes on. Like, I'm telling you, if they have a praying mantis boss added to this game, I'm not playing. I don't mess with praying mantises. Those guys are freaks. I don't mess with
and like also like watching the video on the stream right now, like even in the night phase, like if they had like little like fireflies, well obviously they won't be little for the characters in the game, but like they had like fireflies that all provide a little bit of lighting during the night phase.
Really cool.
Oh my god, that's such a good idea.
Heck yeah. Well, here's what gives me hope, because they cut the story so short. I think that there's still a lot they have to show us. I really think this was supposed to be just like a taste. I really do. So I still think there's a lot more creatures to show. Like there's a lot more bugs to show us. There's a lot more resources. There's a lot more stuff to craft. I'm just really excited to see what it is.
Yeah, definitely. If you look at the actually the background image I'm using for this stream right now, you're gonna notice above the kids on the leaf, there's actually some hornets. So there's definitely flying enemies gonna be like I don't know. I mean, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't see a single flying type of bug in my time playing.
Gnats. I saw a couple gnats.
Gnats,
right? I
right?
collect them for my arrows, but other than that. No,
yeah, the only flying thing that we saw were gnats. Yeah, and there was very little of those too.
So like Ark, they could add a ton of species of insect later in as just a standard lineup, but I really like Benji's idea of adding like either optional packs, because essentially you're creating your own, not server, but you're creating your own story when you team up with your friends and you start a multiplayer game in this game. So if you could like preset, like I want this variety of bugs or this variety of bugs or something like that, that would definitely add to the replay value to a sense. Like,
yeah, because like they even have the mode when we were playing it the other day. Like you have the arachnophobia mode where you don't have spiders in the game.
I think that's so cool still, but like they're very quick to customize your experience even at a basic level, and I do appreciate that. Nagamyok, so you haven't played this game yet quite, but you've been watching it, you've been researching it. Right now, after everything we've discussed and everything you've seen, what would they be able to add right now that would really just amp you up to want to try this game? And what do you hope they naturally bring to the table in the future?
I think they're going to really double down on the story. I think that they're going to try and make it, a very complex journey, because obviously there's traction, people like it. But for me personally, because this game is the nature that is open world, but it begs you to explore and kind of just experience this weird little world. So I would like to see little things throughout, your space, just different things that I think obviously should reflect like 90s culture or like references if they're allowed to or whatever they do. But like small little stuff like that, that's what especially when Fallout 3 came out, the push to the 3D platform is that you get different ways to experience the world. And so what they did was they added, well, in that game, especially with the dialogue and just the overall atmosphere. So they should do the same thing with this game. It doesn't have like an NPC, I guess, people to talk to and overall like that, but you can put in little things that people in the real world will pick up on instantly and make them just that much more, in love with it. Because that's what this game really wants you to do. Is it wants you to love it and kind of accept its world. So you got to add those little things.
That's the kind of attention that Obsidian really would love to hear. I really wish they could somehow find this and they can listen to what you have to say here, because I think that's a lot of valuable feedback that they could do to make a better game. I'm glad you're saying all these awesome points. You're bringing up a lot of good stuff to the table, Nagum. You're going to be on here every week. We're going to force you. Kicking and screaming, we're going to take you on here every week. You're too valuable.
This is my last one.
I'm done. After dealing with Parody's nonsense, I'm out of here.
I mean, I want to ride a Fuzzy Bee. I mean, that's all I'm really asking for. I want to ride a Bumblebee.
You'd be flying.
Yeah, like imagine if they added like a way to like mount some of the bigger bugs, like the ladybugs. Like obviously you can ride them just by standing on them, but imagine if you could like mount it and actually like, because the ladybugs actually like have an attack on them. Like when you anger them, they like do like a charge. So it's kind of like a Triceratops in Ark, where it just has like your basic charge attack. Like if they added that kind of aspect to this game too for some of the bugs that are like more passive, I could see that.
I want to ride a worm into the sunset.
And I was thinking the first time I watched this game, a cool thing they could do, because it has those multiplayer like aspects to it. I was thinking like a little hub world, like almost if it's like a miniature treehouse, and you get to like
I love that.
Customize it, and like especially treehouse, like that's just so perfect for it. So like that would be fun. You could invite people like Club Penguin-esque. You could invite them to your little hub world. That would be cool. And it's just again something little that like it's almost like when a game is how I said this is aesthetically pleasing. It just gives you that feeling of just like I want to play this right now. I want to sit here and just be this thing, and that would be cool.
At this point, I don't even know why we just don't make a game ourselves. These are amazing points everybody's bringing up.
Isn't it the point escapism? I mean, the whole point is to get you involved and to escape into this world. So, I mean, the more they come out to allow us to escape into this world, the better off we're going to be.
Yeah. And honestly, to your point, though, I think overall, like, my feelings towards the game, even though I haven't played it, but I think that they care and they try. That's two things. Again, it's kind of silly to say, like, it's like a small thing, but that's how games are nowadays. I look for that. Like, you may be talented and you may have a lot of resources, you're a big company, but do you care about what you're like selling me? Because then if you do, and I can at least tell that, I'll look forward to more, and I can get, like you said, Jake, DankVibez.
I am.
Okay, I didn't know. But you can escape a little bit because it's believable in the sense of like what the idea is. They tried to make it that, give a shit.
Yeah, I'm super into that. That they just that's the delivery. You could tell that there's some tender love and care in this game. I love how you put that.
A lot of games are about that profit, all profit, no passion. And when you get a game that does all passion, no profit, inadvertently they get the profit, right? I think that needs to be understood.
I think we're huge on that. All of us can agree on. We would much prefer play a game that you can feel the love behind it. Like they made this out of the base of their heart because this is all that they love. You could tell. And this is one of those games that's just unique and fresh, a different perspective, and they love the world as much as we do. So I think that's what they want to show us.
Any game would get more of my money if it focused on that, like just that aspect. I'll give you more money. I'll buy skins. There's nothing inherently wrong with having to invest more in a game if you'd like to, as long as it's worth it in the sense of like you're not getting gypped. Like that's not hard to. I don't know. It's common sense to me.
When you come out with like the next Madden, or I don't want to, I don't want to offend anybody. The next Call of Duty, the next Call of Duty. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel any love in those games. Like they're just cash grabs. And
well, I think
this is not that game. I feel.
Well, you put those two. And it's funny. It's cool that you actually said that because Call of Duty was one of the first games that people were like, I want to get good. Like it's like almost like a sport. And then you look at sports games. There's simulations. And that's a war game. It's basically simulation. So like those games are serialized because like it's like a sport. It comes around every year and then it goes. So like those are a whole different gray area of games because there's no level design and there's no, you know what I mean? Like you build the stadiums or you build a certain map for Call of Duty and that's it. This game is solely based off of your returning and playing it over and over. It can't be lazy because like 2K games are wicked lazy when you really look past the court. Like they're rendered terribly. But that's not what you're there for. You're there to play some basketball. This game, you're there to like live a life as a shrunken person in the 90s.
Oh, well, you know, good. You know what? Good analogy. We're all good. We're all D&D players here. I don't know if there will be any D&D players in the chat, but I mean, if you're in a campaign that someone cares about, you can instantly tell how much more fun that you're having. Instantly.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's
you
immediate.
just get that much more involved in the story because they are that much involved in the story, and that's what I like about this so far. Like, this is just, it's their baby.
Well, to no one's surprise, Obsidian, being the people behind this game, like, let's go over their track record, right? We got New Vegas, we have KOTOR 2, we have games coming out soon, Avowed, which I am out of this world excited for. I know a lot of you guys are too.
I think I'm heavy breathing over it.
Exactly. I'm salivating for this game. We have The Outer Worlds, and I know Nagam Yoke and I have been talking about that recently, and we talked about this game with everybody last Thursday. And Outer Worlds is a phenomenal game, and it's one of those games where they don't see. It's sad. Obsidian themselves didn't even consider it a AAA. They considered it a AA game, but it had the personality and the depth to it, and the focus in the right areas, even if they're small, that other companies would ignore, to make you convinced otherwise that it was a AAA game. And they have a DLC coming out that's about as long as the main game rumored to be, and I am so excited for that too. They have so many games. They have Grounded they're working on. They have Avowed coming out. They have the new DLC for the Outer Worlds coming out. Rumor is they're starting the Outer Worlds 2 early now. It'll take years for it to even be announced. But they're gonna have a second campaign story DLC after this one that they announced recently, and then they're gonna be heavy at work for the Outer Worlds 2. They're working on so much stuff right now, and I feel like not a single game they put out, when they have the freedom that Microsoft is giving them as one of their studios now that they didn't have before, and the time that they need to put their love and passion into these games, they're going to be pumping out some crazy stuff. Because, I mean, KOTOR 2, they had a deadline that they had to meet. Amazing game. I prefer it over the first, even though the first has more nostalgia behind it. Fallout New Vegas. A lot of people say New Vegas was better than Fallout 3, and Bethesda kind of shit on Obsidian. They said, this game has to get, and don't quote me on the metrics, but this game has to get at least an 85 for you to get your for you to get your studio bonus that will give you if the game does well. They gave them a little over a year to make the game start and finish, and that's to do everything they needed. And they still had less bugs than Fallout 3 had, although there were bugs there, but they also had considerably less time to make the game. And on top of that, they got a 84 out of 85, or if it's not exactly 85, whatever the score was, they got literally 1 point less than what they needed to get their bonus, and Bethesda completely removed their bonus from them. They did not get their bonus. And Obsidian has so much talent in their team and so much passion behind their games, and with so much less than other studios are given, they were able to put out great quality, and they've always been that little man getting a dump on them, I feel like. And now that Microsoft owns them, Microsoft literally like, hey, what games do you guys want to make? What's your budget? What do you want to do? And how long do you want to take it? In terms of development time, and they don't care. They're like, you do what you want, and we got your financial backing for you. And the reason why Microsoft bought them is for that exact same reason we were all discussing. Obsidian is amazing when it comes to their passion. Yeah, they're on the come up.
For real.
They're literally one of my favorite studios. They're turning into one of my favorite studios, and Bethesda's going to the bottom of the list, and literally a year ago it would have been opposite.
Switched, absolutely. We were just talking about this, absolutely.
Yeah, like I said on the last podcast, dude, Obsidian, in my opinion, right now is frontliner for Studio of the Year by far.
Facts. That's fact. Honestly, we'll wait and see. Game Awards, coming up, I believe in December, November. They better be on there several times. They better get awards because they're doing such a good job, and the financial freedom Microsoft has given them. We're going to see some great games. I mean, Avowed is supposed to be... I mean, they created the Outer Worlds as like a Fallout spiritual successor, and they did things better than Fallout that Bethesda didn't do. And they did it, and they delivered it in a better and more presented manner. They're taking Skyrim and they're doing the same thing with this Avowed game, right?
I can't tell you how much hours I have on that game. So like, I am so thrilled. I can't even tell you. I'm waiting to hear more about that at a moment's notice. I'm on guard.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything that'll get anybody's hopes up, but let's hope in August for the hardware event that Microsoft's going to be doing, and we will be talking about that with a podcast. Let's honestly hope that they show gameplay for those games. They showed like a 5-second. I don't know, Nagam, if you saw the Avowed trailer. They showed like 5 seconds of gameplay, and your character is standing there with a sword in his right hand, and his left hand is like has a magical aura around it. Think Skyrim and the other Elder Scrolls games where you can choose.
It did remind me of that.
Right, you saw that. So that's where I got this is really like, this is a Skyrim. Like they're doing what they did to Fallout with the Outer Worlds to now Elder Scrolls in this. And the volumetric effect, the graphics, everything, it looked phenomenal. They need to show more of that game. And I know this podcast isn't about that, but like, damn, like Obsidian, you're doing your damnedest. And I know we said don't start the game strong and then get lazy later, but I really have high hopes for Grounded here. I really think they're going to surprise people.
Yeah, they have so much more. This is just a preview, but they have so much more. And it's just a testament to how strong the Xbox Series X is going to be as well. Just by the sheer power our PCs need. The only advice I would have is maybe, I don't know, optimize it for both if you're going to try to advertise it for both.
Yeah, don't focus one over the other. Spread the love evenly. And, I mean, we've touched up on a lot of great things here. We've covered a lot of amazing stuff. We can honestly work our way towards closing this out. I know we've been on here a little longer than normal because we had some technical difficulties at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
But in terms of final words, final points, does anybody, we'll start with you, VG Benji, we'll go in reverse again. Do you have any final points, final statements you want to make about this game before we close out?
Honestly, like the only kind of points that I want to say before we head out is like, honestly, just I can't wait to play it more. Obviously, we're going to be playing it later on so we can get the full story recorded. But even when the game fully launches, whatever time that is, it's an easy buy or easy download on, the Game Pass. And, just can't wait to actually fully emerge into this game.
And before we go to, and Benji, absolutely, I pretty much was going to say the same thing. But before we go to Nagam Note and continue here, Duke Togo 13, Obsidian working on their own version of Skyrim, such a promising concept. I so agree. I really think they're going to do such a better job.
They're going to knock it out of the park. It's going to be crazy.
And
I don't want to set my hopes up, but I really think they're going to knock it out of the park.
I do too. Like,
R.I.P. Todd Howard.
I know, and I love my man Todd here. Like, don't get me wrong, he's my boy, but I am one of those dissatisfied people with Bethesda. I am very disappointed in the direction they've been going the last few years and their last few releases, and how they absolutely refuse to change their game engine, which causes so many of these issues. And I think they're gonna I really hope Obsidian, them doing everything they're doing and providing such quality on these games coming out and working on 3 games at a time, and still providing that quality. Meanwhile, Bethesda is a larger team with definitely financial backing, and they're putting out Fallout. I mean, Fallout 4, some people loved it, some people hated it. I'm kind of in between. Then Fallout 76, scratch my head, question mark, what?
That was real bad.
Yeah, it just doesn't. It just, they're trying, but the game's been out for a while now, and it's like a lot of people say day one compared to now. Yeah, mediocre increases.
You can't say we didn't try to, have their back on this. We were always preaching Bethesda's the best. It was our favorite game company for a while, just with Elder Scrolls and Fallout being so prominent in our lives. It was really bummer. And then Obsidian's coming out and saying, hey, we could do it better. And I believe them now because they really are doing it better.
Yeah. And it's funny. It makes me laugh, honestly. And I hope it's the wake-up call that they need, because competition's good. I don't want Bethesda to fail, but I do want them to hear the voice of the gamers that have to play their games. And I just did a Fallout 4 playthrough recently, and I can't tell you guys how many times I had to reload saves. Like, as much as an hour in the past because of stupid glitch. Like, at one point, I couldn't fast travel, and the game would crash. So I had to load a save that was over an hour earlier into the game. That was the latest, but yet earliest save that did not have that issue. And that's just an example of the nonsense I dealt with on a game that's been out forever now. that doesn't even have nearly half the glitches or bugs that Fallout 76 has. So I'm really hoping they smarten up. But Nagam Yoke, what about you? Any final comments that you have about Grounded? Anything you're excited for in the future? What's your overall prognosis?
Overall, kind of simply put, I like it. I definitely want to play it and really experience it. But from playing Outer Worlds, like I said earlier, as long as you try and like your heart's in it, a game I think has a chance. And I think this game's going to gain even more traction. I think the next thing they put out, it's like a big opportunity for them, and they have to kind of capitalize, because this happens nowadays. People like their stuff to come out and when they want it, and it's instant gratification. It's got to be good, and it's got to be something big enough. Like, as a gamer, you get what you get, but realistically, they have to put out something. Don't have to put out a bunch of stuff. One thing that's core to the game, that's really good, and that builds the excitement. I think they will. Their game, like Outer Worlds, they have atmosphere, they have personality. So yeah, I think looking positive. Add something relatively big soonish, and don't lose personality.
Love that. Amazing words for your final statement. And now, DankVibez, what you thinking, bro? Final prognosis. Any last minute things you want to throw in there?
I'm so excited to play it some more. I mean, it's just simply put. Like, I feel like there's still so much more we have to find out. I only got a little taste of it, and I'm craving more of it. I'm just so excited to see what their vision was. And there's really not much more to say about it. I mean, performance-wise and all that, that's going to come later. But for now, let's just try to enjoy it for what it is. And that's a really fun video game that Obsidian just has a knack for putting out.
Perfectly said. I'll finish it off then by saying I pretty much honestly was going to say a lot of what you guys already all said. So I don't have much to say besides I hope they really add that dog in this game. I'm really crossing my fingers for
dog.
that.
And let it be a corgi. Let it be a corgi.
I'll leave. If they add a corgi, I'll leave my own house. Yes, that'll be insanely ironic, or insanely, like, that would be the coolest thing I've ever seen. A corgi in a game of this nature, are you kidding me? But
so good.
I mean, on that note, I really do. There's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of things they could add. There's a lot of things they could do to make this game even better than it already is. And I feel like in time they could really take care of any complaints that anybody would have about this game. I mean, at the end of the day, some games just aren't certain people's cup of tea. But the people who want to love this game, I feel like if there's anything that's troubling them with this game, they're going to get those worries fixed at some point. And Obsidian is just an amazing company. So I'm very excited to see what they do. And that's all I have for this podcast. Everybody else just finished up with everything they had to say. So I mean, next week we're going to be back here again. We decided to make the show a 7 p.m. Eastern time every Thursday, or at least try for every Thursday as we're starting up here, and discuss recent trends, game launches that we're playing, the new hottest thing that's being discussed, game events that are shown. Last week was the Xbox event. Next Thursday we will be discussing the PS5 event. Hopefully they announce a price and a release date, because that's going to really start to kickstart things up about next-gen hardware and announcements. And I'm so excited for all this stuff to come out. You guys have no idea. So next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, definitely come join us, chat with us again like you did today, discuss everything you see in that PS5 event. It's a great time for gamers to be alive right now. This industry is just, it's so chaotic, I can almost not keep up. I'm always on my phone checking my Twitter, looking for the latest news and the latest rumors, and my mind is just scrambled sometimes. But I want to thank everybody for watching with us, sticking with us, engaging with us. All the donations, much appreciated. That keeps us afloat to keep doing this kind of thing. And we will see you guys in the next stream. Make sure to check out everybody's channel. Nagam Yoke, VG Benji, their channels aren't quite up and running yet, but if they start doing content, you will definitely hear about it on these streams. I will be shouting them out left and right. DankVibez is going to be streaming this game, us playing it start to finish, starting in the next 30 minutes or so, less than that probably. So check his channel out, subscribe to him, and watch us get eaten by spiders. It'll be a fun time. And we will check you guys in the next podcast. Goodbye, everybody. You want to say goodbye? You guys have any goodbye
friends? I hope I can see you guys. Hope I can see you guys in my streams. It'll be super fun. Come on by, visit, say hi. I'm just chilling out. It'll be cool.
Thanks for having me, everyone.
Hell yeah. Well, guys, we'll see you